You're on mute, madam. Please unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you had a good lunch. Welcome to the post lunch technical session one of the first day of the conference. The theme of this session is a new and forward looking vision towards teaching learning. I request Mr. Pankaj Vij, Deputy Director Operations, Sri Sri University, to conduct the session. Handing over the session to you, Mr. Vij.
Thank you, madam. A very good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the first technical session titled A New and Forward-Looking Vision Towards Teaching Learning. Effective learning requires a comprehensive approach that involves appropriate curriculum, engaging pedagogy, continuous formative assessment, and adequate student support. The curriculum must be interesting and relevant and updated regularly to align with the latest knowledge requirements and to meet specified learning outcomes. High quality pedagogy is then necessary to successfully impart the curricular material to students. The assessment methods must be scientific, designed to continuously improve learning and test the application of knowledge. What is also needed is that we ensure that learning environments are engaging and supportive and enables all students to succeed. With this small note, I take this opportunity to welcome the esteemed panelists among us today. We have with us the chairperson for this session, Professor P.B. Sharma ji. Professor P.B. Sharma, an eminent academician and institution builder, is currently the Vice Chancellor of MIT University, Gurgaon. He has been the founder Vice Chancellor of Delhi Technological University. He is also the past president of AIU. Professor Sharma has a career spanning over 51 years experience in teaching and research, which includes 12 years at IIT Delhi. He is also the founding Vice Chancellor of Rajiv Gandhi Technological University, Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh. We heartily welcome you, sir, for this session. We have with us our speaker, Professor S.E. Sharma ji, Director, NAC. Dr. S.E. Sharma is an educationist, researcher, and an administrator. His areas of specialization are fracture mechanics, material engineering, and nanotechnology. Formerly, he was Vice Chancellor of Swami Vivekananda Technical University, Bhilai. He was also Vice Chancellor of Tumkur University, Vice Chairman of Karnataka State Higher Education Council, Government of Karnataka, and he was also Principal of RV College of Engineering. Very glad to be here, sir. Our second speaker, Professor Najma Akhtarji. She is the Vice Chancellor of Jamia Millia Islamic University. An internationally renowned educational administrator, Professor Najma has 4 decades of academic experience in educational leadership. She spearheaded international educational administrators courses for senior officials from 130 countries. She established and developed CMAT Allahabad. She has worked in various statutory positions in eminent institutions. Due to some urgency, she is not able to join, is what we have come to know now. On her behalf, Professor Ijaz would be presenting. We welcome you, sir. Our last speaker is Professor Upinder Dhar, Vice Chancellor of Sri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya, Indore. Dr. Upinder Dhar was the Group Additional Vice Chancellor and Pro Vice Chancellor, Academics, MIT University, Founder Vice Chancellor of J.K. Lakshmipad University, Jaipur, Dean, Faculty of Management, and Dean, Faculty of Doctoral Studies and Research, Nirma University. Apart from this, he has authored and co-authored, edited more than 700 publications. Very happy to have you here, sir. May I now request the chairperson, Professor B.B. Sharma ji, to kindly take this session forward. Over to you, sir.
What a great privilege it is to be with the esteemed Vice Chancellors today with a highly distinguished panel at the AIU Vice Chancellors Central Zone meeting, and that too to participate in visioning and creating a new and forward-looking vision for India's higher education, specifically focusing on teaching, learning, environment. Honorable President AIU, Dr. Tej Pratap Ji, Madam Dr. Pankaj Mittal, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Sri Sri University, Sri Professor A.K. Singh, esteemed Vice Chancellors, ladies and gentlemen, this is a matter of great privilege, not only for me, but also for my very distinguished panel to participate today in this high power technical session and to share our thoughts and vision on creating a new forward-looking vision for teaching learning in our institutions of higher learning and the universities in India. I must not hesitate to say that we are passing through a highly opportune time in India. On one hand, we have a great opportunity to transform higher education of our great nation, leapfrog it into areas of our strength, and create that added pride for Mother India for the quality and relevance of higher education that will also propel higher education to the trajectory, making our nation as one of the strongest, most vibrant and a developed nation on planet Mother Earth. The new education policy has come at a highly opportune time. In fact, it advocates very clearly and acknowledges also that education plays a highly significant role for creating sustainable livelihood and economic development of the nation. It also calls upon us to seriously ponder over the role of higher education in 21st century, especially it must aim at developing thoughtful, well-rounded, creative individuals from the campuses of our university. It also calls upon us to think very seriously to engage our students in deep learning in areas of their interest, create the desired multidisciplinary environment, engage our students in learning rather than deliveries from the stage by the teachers. The time of sage on stage has gone. Today, we have to engage our students and teachers together into participative learning as much as we do in participative management in our institutions. We need to create that appetite for learning, an intense urge for curiosity, to inspire them to bring out their innovativeness and creative potential in plenty, and engage themselves during their 3 years or 4 years time at the university in such a manner that not only they become employable in today's but also tomorrow's enterprises, but in fact become capable of accelerating innovations, causing upsurge of startups from the campuses of our university. In fact, the policy looking at us to create a vision that shall transform our universities and institutions of higher learning into global knowledge superpowers, global knowledge enterprises that will compete with the very best in the world. And in no time, we should be able to see, at least in our own lifetime, that India rises to glory to place its universities not only among the top 100, but into top 20 universities of the world. It is this charter with which, with all seriousness, the National Education Policy 2020 has been presented before us. I had the privilege of visiting the NEC office and interact along with my friends from the AIU on our vision, what we would like the NEP should be. And we are very happy that many of our suggestions have been picked up while casting the policy, National Education Policy 2020, by the Honorable Chairman and the esteemed members which drafted this very important policy for our nation. Having said this, let me say that I am very privileged to chair today a session which has highly distinguished and illustrious panelists, among them none other than Dr. S.C. Sarma. Dr. S.C. Sarma is not only an eminent educationist and an able administrator par excellence, he is a crusader for a major change in our country so that we all work within our universities to ensure that quality prevails at all levels and our benchmarks of quality rise to the global standards to make Mother India proud of the universities of our great nation. We have the distinction of having a person in our panel as Dr. S.C. Sarma, whose book has been awarded by the Sahitya Academy, and that too the book written in Kannada, and then addressing to the vital need that how the school dropouts could engage themselves to create such a decisive interest in engineering and technology and innovations. A man with such a deep insight into causing deep learning to the inspired students who has headed universities in our country and demonstrated ample abilities to steer India's higher education is today with us as the panelist of this great session, which I have the privilege to chair. I would only say that while sharing our thoughts and casting our vision, let us not lose sight of the two key words. One of them is new. What is that advantage new India has today to create a vision that will transform higher education decisively from the levels where it is to the levels which we all desire and dream? And second is forward looking. I need not say any more other than to say that despite being the vice chancellor of university, I learn a lot from my grandchildren, because in this new age of knowledge, learning cannot be merely at the level where you are. You have to learn from each other, even learn from the students. And therefore, the new and forward-looking vision for teaching learning has to give tremendous amount of space for collaborative learning and learning from each other, even teachers learning from their students, not only for teaching, but also for doing research that has a meaning to transform our great nation into a nation of tremendous amount of science and technology power tomorrow. With these opening remarks, ladies and gentlemen, may I take this opportunity to invite my illustrious and highly distinguished panelist, Dr. S.C. Sharma, and thereafter I shall invite Dr. Najma Heptullah ji and my very dear Professor Upendra Dharji. Dr. S.C. Sharma, sir, over to you to share your vision on the new and forward-looking vision for teaching learning in particular and higher education in general.
Namaskar, sir. Respected Professor P.B. Sharma ji, Professor Dr. Pankaj Mittal ji, President AIU, and all the Vice Chancellors and every one of you. In fact, I must make a mention about the great and scintillating work that has been going on in Association of Indian Universities under the dynamic leadership of the President and ably supported by Dr. Pankaj Mittal ji and her team. Continuously, I've been watching, witnessing, and reading the university newsletter and a couple of good work that is being done. My namaskars to all of you. Well, a new and forward-looking vision for teaching learning. As Professor P.B. Sharma ji just now mentioned, the teaching learning should not be a static one, it is dynamic, and he clearly mentioned that learning from his grandchildren, that is the modern generation, have a different ethos and era in teaching learning, which plays an important role in enhancing quality of higher education. Now, what is the greater responsibility and work with futuristic vision is a question that has to be pondered at every stage. Well, in production planning and control in engineering, we have planning, control, execution, etc. in production technology. Likewise, To compete in the global market, a teacher has to do his planning, preparation, and effective performance in the classroom, which is very, very crucial. Otherwise, we don't compete with the global market. We have online courses now. We have, there is no boundary, there is no circumscribing limits as prescribed in law with respect to higher education. Sooner or later, international universities will come and set up universities here, and it will happen. But to compete with the global market, a teacher not only should plan, prepare, and effective performance, he also has to see the research, nuances of the research, what is going on, and amalgamation of teaching, planning, and research is very important. Updating of knowledge specific to a subject is highly essential. A teacher should not restrict to only a particular, for example, when I teach composite materials in engineering, it encompasses chemistry, it encompasses solid state physics, it also encompasses offshoot of chemistry, different forms of chemistry like nanochemistry. Therefore, driving back to the point, one should have an interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary approach in teaching. Teaching should be treated as more professional with greater emphasis. I would say more professional, because and a teacher's commitment counts a lot here. Because even in the document, NEP document, it says integrity. The word integrity is reflected in several places. Therefore, a teacher cannot be compared to a corporate sector, who insists on rules and regulations with a different type of organizational culture. For example, in industrial management, you have different rules and regulations of the industry, etc. But where a teacher cannot be brought under that gamut. Therefore, intellectuals should be attracted to teaching. How? Yes, people say salary, promotional, etc. It is very easy to say that one has to do a lot of service. Yes, I can say a lot of service. Professor P.B. Sharma ji can say, and Dr. Pankaj Mittal ji can. What about an assistant professor who grows? He also needs salary and promotional opportunities. Therefore, a teaching profession with better salary and promotional opportunities is highly important to have better innovation and quality teaching. Why Indian Institute of Science and IITs and premier institutions in the country are competing with the higher knowledge of the Western world? Because of the flexibility that is going on, and that is where NEP 2020 plays a very important role at the right time of transformation with vision in the context of global world standard with shared responsibilities with stakeholders, which is very important. And I would say that there is a paradigm shift from content-based teaching to competence and performance-based teaching with critical pedagogy, which means good teaching can happen with strong pedagogy, which in turn leads to effective learning. That is, collaborative teaching helps for achievement of teaching objectives and realization of the desired outcome. Now, what is this realization of the desired outcome? Satya Jnana, and Satya Jnana, and then Ananda. You see, when you compare the ancient scripture with the desired outcome, if you have a content and immediately if it is reflected onto the field, for example, in criminal procedure code or in the IPC law, whatever happens on the field, that is the evidence, and in the recent time that is brought before the court, and immediately a decision is taken. In the earlier part, collaborative teaching means just on the paper it used to be collaborative. Now, if you have lathe, a CNC machine, if you have a collaboration, with the CNC organization. You need you understand what is automation. You understand what are the that the collaborative teaching learning is both experimental, practical, as well as outcome based. The word outcome based has a broad connotation. Therefore, internship with institution helps for better enhancement of teaching skills. Now, what do we say about Atmanirbhar? What is Atmanirbhar? For example, when I say that water flows, a small example, we may have audience here with arts and liberal arts, etc. Water flows, when you channelize, it has an area to go through. It has a flow as velocity. You have Q is equal to A into V. Q is the discharge is equal to area into velocity. Therefore, what happens is you need a mens rea. In criminal law, it says as mens rea and actus rea. Mens rea is what you recapitulate, what you capture in your brain. Now, whatever I said, Q is equal to A into V, this can be correlated to applied mathematics of magnetohydrodynamics, convective transfer, conductive transfer, or Morangoni convective transfer. There it says that you have a mathematical equation. Here in engineering, it says that you are actually seeing the flow. This is the fundamental, rudimental thing. Therefore, now what is this outcome based having taught? One has to demonstrate with practicality, and the skills have to be employed or done. In Germany and in Japan especially, a student will be taken to the spot, he will be explained, and then the theory is imbibed. Therefore, the outcome-based education, or it is directly proportionate on the field, he gains the first-hand information and experience about various activities. The student should acquire the experience of not just urban. He has to go to the rural also. Colleges in rural, teachers know the difficulties, have an internship, and then come back. He will have a paripurnata. That is satya. And the knowledge which is taken is jnana. And the outcome is ananda. Satya jnana nanda. That is the definition. Now we have different forms of learning, Your WhatsApp, your mobile learning, your online learning, classroom learning. These are some of the e-learning workshops, webinars, and websites can give a student a real experience. As Professor P.B. Sharma ji mentioned, gone are those days with chalkpiece and duster. He said, what a wonderful catchy statement. I will have to learn from my grandchildren. Yes. C language, Fortran, C language was taught at engineering level. Now, the building of logic with mathematics is taken at the 8th standard, 9th standard, and 10th standard. Look at the wonderful thing. For example, when we talk about national education policy, it says that light but tight. It has a larger connotation. And it says multidisciplinary. For example, a student of music, if he has Tanpura, and if he does the Alapana, if you have to have a nodal variation, what is called a Shruti in music, and you relate that to sound. And if you have to synthesize, blend music technology, electronics and music, and if a Kalpana Swara has to be done, a simulation technique in computer science is done. What a beautiful thing. What a wonderful document is NEP. In fact, 1948, Radhakrishnan's committee, he says intellectual adventure. And then Arcot Lakshman Swam Madaliyar's commission. And after that, wonderful commission report of Professor Kothari. But unfortunately, what happened? We took only pick and choose. We took only small things. Therefore, it had a skew dislocation on the system of education over a period of time, and there should be an emphasis should be on the development of various types of teaching and assessment skills. The teacher should insist on multiple learning styles, which is very important and stated in the theme which is stated in the National Education Policy. Now everybody talks about roles of teacher. Who is a teacher? Shankaracharya says that ko-guruhu. Who is a guru? Guru Rangri Padme, Manaschenna Lagne. And at the end it says Tatakyam Shadangadiva Tatakyam Tatakyam Tatakyam. Ko-guruhu. Who is a guru? A guru is commitment to the profession, open-mindedness and curious to know learning difficulties of students. If the student and the teacher has the same doubt, where is the question? It is dark. It is an andhakara. Andhakara in Sanskrit is darkness. Of course, technology friendly. If one does not adopt technology, he is a deadwood. I'm sorry to use this word. Technology friendly is a must, and you must also know the psychological and pedagogical principles to have a sound knowledge. Knowledge about the individual needs of the learner is very, very important. Well, we can go on and on. It is already 2:25. Let me try to conclude. Teaching learning is an important component which enhances quality of higher education institutions. What does this mean? Quality of teaching depends on several factors. One is the teacher's aptitude of the teacher, interest and aptitude of the teacher. Teacher's preparation, he has to change continuously. Sarvam kshanikam kshanikam. Everything changes, goes on changing. Kshanikam kshanikam. Yesterday, what I had prepared, today it has changed. The same C.V. Raman effect, you can have multiple interpretations with different interpretations for research. Preparation, methodology of teaching, and method of evaluation, that is very important. Olden days, we had from 1 year over a period of time, it was a memory, Dharana Shakti, method of evaluation. Now it has changed to continuous evaluation. Further, it will change to experimental evaluation. Manana, Nayana, and Shravana. Manana is your thought. Nayana is your eyes. Shravana is your ear. Hence, higher educational institutions should ascertain that their teachers are trained in the methods of teaching and evaluation. Apart from this, they also should be trained in integrate technology in teaching, which is very, very important. Integrate technology in teaching. Well, teachers should be encouraged in most of the universities, private institutions, aided institutions, organized by UGC, HRD centers, which also help the teachers to be more confident in their content and teaching. And there are several books available relating to the methods of teaching various subjects. Ultimately, I would like to conclude that we should have a better clarity about the objective of teaching and also about evaluation technique. I am immensely grateful to Dr. Pankaj Mittalji and my compliments to her and her team for organizing such wonderful conferences. It is not only this. I have been I'm repeating again with the opening remark, with the concluding remark, that AIO has been doing fantastic. It has really created a sensation, a scintillating effect on all the stakeholders of higher education. My pranams to Dr. Pankaj Mittalji, Professor P.B. Sharma-ji, AIO President, and all the stakeholders. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you so much indeed, Dr. Sarma Sahab. The message is loud and clear, coming from no one less than the Director, National Assessment and Accreditation Council, that you have to think, we all have to think out of the box and arrive at something new which is forward looking and yet connected with our spiritual profound heritage which we have before us. Sir has rightly said that you have to integrate technology in teaching and also integrate industry so that what we do in our classrooms as well as out of the classroom and prepare our students, they become not only relevant to today's employment but also future ready. Dr. Sharma has rightly emphasized on integration of research with education. He has also rightly uh, inspired us to think that the boundaries between science and engineering have fast disappeared, and therefore we need to integrate the science and engineering and whole lot of discipline in a multidisciplinary environment. But Sir has also said, look towards our own heritage of education. When Nachiketa went to Yamaraja, through a dialogue, he deciphered the secret of creation. And that is where I think the new styles and new methods and methodologies of teaching would come very handy for us to understand. In our Prashnopanishad, it is by asking questions that the whole of the wisdom of the Prashnopanishad has been put together. So I think we are in a totally new times today to devise, design, and develop new styles of teaching. And thank you so much, Dr. Sharma Sahab, also to tell us very frankly that ultimately it is the benchmark of quality in our teaching learning environment as well as in our outcome that finally matters. Dr. Sharma has given one more very important indication which I thought is a take away from this session, and that is we must map out what is that which IITs and IISc, the great institutions of our country, have done to compete with the rest of the world, so that we understand how teaching learning environment in our own institutions of eminence can be in fact a source of inspiration to all our universities in India. Thank you so much, Dr. Sharma Sahab. I'll come back to your remark toward the closing part of this technical session, but may I take this opportunity now to invite our second highly distinguished and illustrious eminent academician, Professor Najma Akhtarji, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Jamia Millia Islamia, who is a person in her own eminence. He has spent decades, in fact, in looking at how to train teachers to come to the task of delivering the promise of the new knowledge age. And today we have an opportunity to listen to the illustrious and very highly distinguished Dr. Najma Akhtarji. I know she was not to be here, but I had requested her to say a few words in the opening remarks, and then the paper could be presented by the Dean, Dr. Ejaz Mashiha. So may I have a few words from Dr. Najma Akhtarji, if she is still there, opening remarks, and then go to Dean Dr. Ejaz, or the way Dr. Ejaz might have planned. Ladies and gentlemen, give a big hand to Dr. Ejaz for connecting to us at this very important technical session. Dr. Ejaz.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. May I ask Professor Najma Akhtar Sahaba if she wants to join just and initiate, then I will continue it. Just.
While Dr. Najma ji is being connected, I think the importance of developing high quality teachers in our universities cannot be overemphasized, as Dr. Sharma has so rightly pointed out. Teachers in IITs are homegrown. They took up the initial genes from outside and from within the country, but groomed them to be outstanding teachers. We need to do the same thing in our universities to come to the clearing calls of developing great teachers in our university who would then bring the added prize for all of us. Having said this, may I also say that at this point, that developing our universities into high trajectories of benchmarks of accreditation and ranking is an important aspect, and we all can do it provided we ask ourselves what is required to take our university from level 1 to level 4, or for that reason from level 4 to 4+. And Today, I think we are in an age, what can be done in 20 years' time can be done in 5 years. What can be done in 5 years can be done in less than 1 year. This is the call of the new knowledge age. And that is why it's so important for us to look at the new and forward-looking vision for our teaching learning environment. Dr. Ajaz, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you so much and giving me this opportunity, and I will speak on behalf of Professor Najma Akhtar, our Vice Chancellor. If you permit me, I will not read out the paper and just point out the salient feature of that paper. Sir, with your permission.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you. First of all, in the paper written by Professor Najma Akhtar, the distinctive features of teaching is explained, that teaching seems to be an easy affair. Still then we do not know the complexity involved in teaching. And that's why teaching in itself is a complex activity, and a number of aspects and dimensions are involved in teaching. But the important issue is why we should talk about new reason about teaching and learning. May I share just a few points in this with the screen?
Go ahead, cracking, and put the salient point forcefully before us so that our
okay, fine.
As well as what Dr. Sharma has said, that Man, Nayan, and Shravan, all three
very right. The first very significant change of the present era is that it's the age of abundance of information. All other periods, the information itself was scarce. That's why even in many of the ancient literature, it is said that we have to move from one place to other, contact some great scholar just to know information. But the present era is having abundance of information, but the nature of these information is that on the one hand, there are certain information which are good information, there are certain information which are bad information, and there are certain information which are ugly information. So merely getting information and internalizing all information is not of much use in the present era, but a different kind of skill is needed so that we can screen out or we can filter out whatever is good and beneficial information for me, for the society, for the entire humanity. So that's one important different kind of skill is needed for the present era when we are having abundance of information. Another important thing is that the present young generation is not only well informed, but they are better informed also. Again, the issue of information is coming into the picture. That's why the role of a teacher or the task of teaching is not to provide information or to vomit out whatever the information we are having. The third thing is the two most important restrictions of the humankind is time and space. Fortunately, the ICT and the other related technology help us to overcome to large extent on these two limitations of human being, that time and space. Another important thing is that we are, as a result of this, moving from, in the word of Bauman, that we are moving from solid time to a liquid time. Another important thing, again, another very important scholar, Burnett, identified the present era is the era of super complexity. Super complexity is not that only that situation is very complex, but we are working in a multiple framework. That's why working with a multiple framework, that is very distinctive feature of the present era. Another important thing is that like any other thing, the knowledge or information is also having an expiry date. And that's why we cannot depend on whatever the obsolete knowledge and continuing it, providing the same. That's why we should have to think about what is the up-to-date knowledge. Please keep in mind, when I am using the up-to-date or obsolete knowledge, I don't mean that all knowledge which are coming from the past are bad, or all knowledge what are coming from the past are good. That's why we must have that ability to filter out what is the useful knowledge, what is the relevant knowledge, and what is obsolete. That's another important thing. All these things led to conclude that now the role of teacher has a great change, took a great change and significant change, that teacher is not now supposed to be just a information provider. And if we consider is still teacher as information provider, perhaps he or she will be the worst source of information, because one click you can have the 10,000 references for single thing. That's why there is a need to have a very significant change so far the knowledge is concerned. Technology has not only influenced one aspect of our life, but in fact, it has revolutionized our social, political, and economic landscape. So entire domain of human life has changed as a result of impact of technology. There is another very important thing one should keep in mind, that concept and theory related to cognition and learning are also changing. So whatever we are thinking till a few years back, that this is the meaning of knowledge, this is the meaning of learning. For example, if we talk about in a behavioral perspective, that just learning means a modification in behavior or change in behavior. But now we are believing, keeping the constructivist paradigm in view, that knowledge is basically the meaning-making process. So engagement of a person in a meaning-making process. So the notion of learning and notion of cognition also, how a person learns, is continuously changing. This led to think a paradigm shift, and that paradigm shift is basically from instructional paradigm to learning paradigm. It means now the role of a teacher should not be confined to just providing certain information or even knowledge, but teacher is one who creates such a congenial environment. Our predecessor already talked about Anand, joyful experience of creating own knowledge by the learner. So we have to create that environment where learning become joyful, learning become easy, learning become useful. So that paradigm we have to adopt. So from instructional paradigm, which is more based on just doctrination, leads to creating a cooperative, collaborative learning environment, which ultimately will provide that kind of knowledge. So that's the basic thing. Now, the paper also talked about the impact of COVID-19, whether we like it or not. The entire teaching community is put into online mode. So we have started teaching through online. But honestly speaking, barring a few who are very experts of technology and ICT, majority of teachers, particularly the older teacher and more specifically about those who are not directly linked with the technology and sciences, were not very much competent enough or ready to adopt this online teaching. So that's why there is a need to have a new skills that should be developed so that we can effectively create that instructional learning paradigm in online situation, in online setup. So paper highlight that aspect also. And as a result of this,
If you can conclude by...
Just a few minutes, sir. So far, the ICT is concerned, there are certain things of integration of ICT in teaching, and because now there is a need to new ways to information gathering, new ways of processing and analyzing information, new ways of transferring and exchanging information, and that ultimately created a new ethics and a new security paradigm also. So that should also be needed to be learned and by teachers community as such.
Very good.
As a result of this, there is a need to have, in this paper, Professor Akhtar has suggested a framework that should be adopted so far the online teaching is concerned, which are divided under 4 phases. And the first phase is, which is called as reading phase, where the learner should independently approach to the many learning resources available to use it and read themselves. Then reflecting about this will be the second phase. And the third phase will be the displaying of that, and finally doing of that whatever is learned. So these 4 phases are elaborately explained in the paper. And if we focus on teaching for learning, and teaching is itself an exercise of collaborative learning, that is the crux of this paper, and that is the ultimate message from this paper. And perhaps this is highlighted in the National Education Policy 2020 also. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ajad. Thank you so much, Professor Dr. Madam Najma ji. We shall circulate your paper also and will carry, I'm sure Dr. Mittal would like to carry it in the university news. But I think some very important points have come out from the presentation which Dr. Ajad has made on behalf of our illustrious Madam Najma ji. One thing is very clear. The teacher cannot have a role of mere dissemination of information. Today, my grandchildren know better than me as far as information is concerned, because we are in an age where information is available at ease as well as with speed. Before I go further to my very distinguished colleague, Vice Chancellor, Professor Upender Dharji, let me go to Madhya Pradesh myself, where I have been the founder Vice Chancellor of Rajiv Gandhi Technological University. When I was chairing a meeting of highly learned quarter at Bhopal at RGPV, one of the very distinguished academicians asked me, what is information, what is knowledge, and what is wisdom? I was very uncomfortable in answering this question. I jokingly said that my grandson can answer better than me. They said, how could it be? And when I asked my grandson later on, he said, information is something which already exists. Now, there's the eldest grandson who is now doing his post-graduation. He said, information is something that already exist. If it does not exist, it is not information. And he was absolutely right. What exists is also accessible today to anyone and everyone, no matter at what age, at what hierarchy we are. But he also said that when information is properly synthesized and analyzed, knowledge comes out of it. And therefore, I think the important message which Professor Najma Akhtar's presentation, Dr. Ajaz has given here, takes us to that we, rather than disseminating the information, a student will come to the class well prepared with the information which they have already accessed. We need to now cause learning ability by which the information can be synthesized and analyzed to create that vital knowledge, which become the enabling feature for creating competencies and caliber. But Dr. Upendra Dharji, competency and caliber is fine. And my very first distinguished panelist has said that don't treat either your student or teachers as we do in corporate. Competence and caliber, of course, matters most in corporates, but in education, especially higher education, character also matters a lot, because we are here in an exercise of man making. In fact, we are here in an exercise of providing an army of people to our own nation who will be highly disciplined, greatly motivated, highly inspired, and committed to serve the society with the best of their abilities. And therefore, the dimension of competence, capability must also be associated with the dimension of knowledge. How do we go about nurturing that in our teaching learning environment, especially that we are casting our new and forward-looking vision today in higher education? With these strings attached to my remarks, may I now invite my very highly illustrious Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Upendra Bhattji, whom I have known for the last almost 2 decades. And profound and forward-looking vision for teaching, learning, and higher education. Over to you, Professor Upendra Bhattji.
Thank you, sir.
Upendra Bhattji.
President of AIU, Dr. Tej Pratap ji, Vice President Dr. Thiru Segam ji, our very dynamic General Secretary of AIU, Dr. Pankaj Mittal ji, Rajitha ji, President of the host university, Dr. A.K. Singh, Vice Chancellor of the host university, my elder brother, Dr. P.B. Sharma ji, who has also been the president of AIU earlier, Dr. S.C. Sharma, Director NAC, Dr. Najma Akhtar ji in absentia, and all other colleagues. I want to share the screen. Can it be seen, please? Is my screen visible?
Yes, they are. Go cracking, go fast, but be
Yes, sir.
As you have.
I will go fast.
Yeah.
Just a minute. Well, in my opinion, a new vision of education would begin with the recognition that faculty members are passionate, skilled professionals whose focus is on effectively engaging students, ensuring their learning, and shaping their development. Faculty shall have to recognize that to productively engage and compete in global economy, the students need strong, well-rounded academic foundation, cultural and global competencies, the ability to collaborate, communicate, and solve problems. And not only strong digital literacy skills, that those days are gone, but command on advanced digital technology. The classroom shall get transformed into a place where accomplished teachers shall creatively apply their knowledge and skills to meet goals, and where their command on the subject will be acknowledged by students and even the educational administrators. And envision classrooms that are configured based on the needs of students and the abilities of teachers. So these two dimensions are going to be very important during the times to come. That is, needs of the students on one hand and abilities of teachers on the other. Technology shall play a significant role in personalizing learning and supplementing classroom instructions so that students could learn at their own pace. This learning at own pace is again going to emerge as an important dimension in teaching learning process.
Sir, I'm sorry I'm interrupting you, sir.
Yes, sir.
I think, sir, your presentation is not shared, just in case
Oh.
if you have. Yeah, thank you.
Just a minute.
And the key points are going in our eyes and ears and mind straight away after that.
Can it be seen now, please?
Even if it is not go on, because.
Okay, I will go ahead. Technology shall facilitate teachers to engage more students simultaneously.
Yes.
Developments in the field of information technology will be viewed as the key to building a new world of higher education. Vision for learning helps faculty and educational administrators to create a unified set of values and beliefs which drive the development of a high performance learning culture. Now we will be talking in terms of high performance learning culture. It was not so, it was not happening so far. We were not using this terminology. Now we'll be using more of high performance learning culture. All students will be empowered to learn, achieve, and experience high quality teaching and the best conditions for learning. To equip them with the knowledge, skills, and dispositions for lifelong learning and to shape the world around them. Higher education shall be equally accessible to all on the basis of merit. No discrimination shall be accepted in granting access to higher education on the ground of gender, language, religion, and physical disabilities. In order to meet the changing needs of students, the higher education institution shall have to rethink the processes of designing, developing, and delivering an enhanced learning experience. These three components are going to become more important now. Designing, developing, and delivering an enhanced learning experience. So we are not now, we will not be restricted to learning experience, learning process, but we'll talk more in terms of learning experience. It is the experience that's going to emerge as an important dimension of the teaching learning process. It will be necessary to innovate and pass on the benefits of innovation to students. There will be a focus on student-centered learning to enable the students to develop employability skills to participate fully within increasingly complex digital societies and be able to imagine alternative futures for themselves as local and global citizens. Technology as an enabler shall play a fundamental role in higher education institutions for transforming academic ambience and pedagogical practices and improving efficiency. Higher education institutions shall have to address the challenges and ensure that all students have the opportunity to learn effectively in a digital world through blended formats. Now we will be talking more in terms of blended format. That means online platform or digital platform is going to continue. It will continue to show its presence. At the same time, in-person, face-to-face interaction has to come back. There is no substitute to that. Therefore, both will go together. That's why I said through blended, using the tools and learning methods which are appropriate and suitable for their specific contexts. Teachers shall have to support students in their development as lifelong learners while facilitating learner independence and autonomy. This is very important. This is what is going to happen during the times to come. On one hand, lifelong learning, guided learning, but at the same time, shall have to develop the tolerance to learner independence and autonomy. Autonomy is to be given to the learner. That's why I support what Dr. Sharma mentioned. I'm in fact endorsing it, that open-mindedness will be very important dimension. Effective quality assurance and quality enhancement processes shall have to address the needs of the new learning and teaching environment. We shall have to define what we mean by quality assurance and standards in a digital context. The technology is going to be an important parameter. Therefore, in the context of this, in digital context, we shall have to redefine the quality assurance in higher education. Teachers or faculty shall have to increase the quality and quantity of content freely available and accessible through a variety of distribution platforms. Research-based content will gain importance. Now, it's not that content taken from anywhere will be accepted. No, that won't be acceptable. Research-based content will gain importance during the times to come. Technologies will be robust and easy to use will be a primary driver. Higher education institutions shall have to ensure that faculty and students have the right digital skills to use technologies for teaching learning process. Here, one point that I want to point out here is that earlier we used to talk about digital skills among students. Those days are gone. Both teacher as well as students will have to have updated digital skills. Not only students, but teachers as well. Employer engagement will be improved to develop the student competencies that employers require. That means more involvement of industry, more involvement of future recruiters will be there. That means we will have more involvement in terms of designing the curricula, in terms of designing the syllabi, so that they prepare students for tomorrow. Improvised project-based learning will be encouraged for active participation of students and to promote solution orientation and new approach in dealing with day-to-day problems. Student satisfaction surveys will be conducted at the end of each semester to understand the expectations of students from the institutions, including faculty members. I have been a teacher of management, and for the last 43 years I have been teaching. Most of the institutions where I have been, including NITI, we had the system there, but this system of taking feedback from the students has not been there in all the institutions in the country. Therefore, in my view, this is going to improve. This feedback loop is going to be there in the future. The results of such surveys will be shared with the faculty to improve teaching learning process. Teachers will be encouraged to pay attention to the concerns of students. Such surveys shall bring them closer for better learning outcomes. That means that feedback is going to be very important now, so that they know what students expect and how much students know, so that accordingly the curricula and the syllabi and the pedagogy, the teaching method could be redesigned. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much indeed, Professor Upendra Dharji, for being very brief, but at the same time, very effective. You have rightly said that technology has to be given an important place in our teaching learning environment. And you are absolutely right. Besides teaching, we need to now learn, design, develop, as well as deliver the skills by which our teachers can cause what the national education policy has mandated for us, cause the deep learning in areas of interest of our students. And therefore, the focus of tomorrow's teaching learning has to be on those teaching skills by the teachers by which you are able to cause deep learning in your students' community, together with them, as well as by inspiring them to go beyond the frontiers of knowledge sketched out in the books of knowledge or reservoirs of information. Ladies and gentlemen, my highly esteemed Vice Chancellor, sir, all the three illustrious panelists have presented before you their vision of how to go about casting our vision for a new and forward-looking teaching learning environment. I would like you to ask some searching questions from my highly illustrious panelists, and I am there as their backup to answer some of these questions towards my concluding remarks. So may I have the Honorable Vice Chancellors asking their questions. Raise your hands or raise your voice. Most welcome, Professor Reddy. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. First of all, I'd like to congratulate excellent presentations. I'll be very brief. First, a couple of observations which I want to make. Number one is the entire curriculum is extremely important. The curriculum should be totally socially relevant. Combination of real world and classroom, that should be always in the mind of the teacher and the faculty which develop that curriculum. Number two, I am from a management school, so we have case approach and our case center is world renowned. We are next only to Harvard University, so case approach can immensely help students learn get the real world experiences. Then the third point which I want to say, Professor Sharma has said, as you also have pointed out, sir, and other two parents, teachers are most important. But the question I want to pose is, how do we develop the teachers? We have introduced the PhD program to develop teachers, and most of them we have been able to absorb. We want quality teachers, not just teachers. And finally, the point which Mr. Sharma said, that the interaction with industry, interaction with the government, academia, industry, government interaction is extremely important. While foreign collaboration is important, this is also extremely important. Finally, what is most important is how do we bring in creativity and innovation in the classroom? I want every Indian classroom to be full of creativity and innovation. And to be very brief, that's the crux of the national education policy. So any of the distinguished members can answer. Thank you, sir.
Question from my learned panelist. How do you promote creativity and innovation?
Exactly.
Not just in classroom, Dr. Reddy, but even outside the classroom. Much of the learning today and tomorrow, it takes place outside the classroom. I know this, having been the principal of Delhi College of Engineering, or for that reason, the vice chancellors of the university. So how do I do any one of my learned panelists, Dr. S.C. Sharma, Professor Upendra Dhar, or Madam Najma Ji, anybody can come.
In my view, one way is the student-centered learning. We have to have the more focus on student-centered interaction. That means empowering the student to share his or her views in the classroom situation. Number one. Number two, project-based learning will increase now, giving them opportunity to work on the live projects so that they can solve problems differently. They are encouraging their approach to solve problems differently needs to be appreciated. Finally, cooperative learning. Cooperative learning is going to increase now. That means students in a team learning from each other, adding different dimensions to the solutions that they propose.
Very well said, sir. Learning to do cannot be substituted merely learning to know. And therefore, we need to create tremendous amount of space within the classroom hour, as well as outside the classroom, to promote learning to do. There is no substitute of doing work by your own hands and then go into deep learning in design, in developing and analyzing and presenting before the world community your analysis and your thoughts and your design. It is this way I think we need to go much more in future. Earlier we thought learning to know is more important, and therefore the textbooks were becoming more and more heavy in terms of the tons of knowledge which they carry. But I think the days have come now where learning to do has to be given prominence over learning to know. Before I go further, may I pick up another question from our very distinguished Vice Chancellor, Professor Bhuvnesh Sharma Saha. I can see a hand being raised by Professor Bhuvnesh Sharma Saha and also by Professor Satyanarayan ji thereafter. Bhuvnesh ji, please go ahead first, very quickly.
Thank you, Professor Sharma, for giving me this opportunity. It is always a joy to listen to you and also Dr. S. Sharma and other speakers. Actually, mine is a more submission also, that I would like to know what we are doing to develop the capability of the learning ability. As our Honorable Prime Minister has said, we have to tell them not what to think, but how to think. So for thinking, we have to have developed level of consciousness. And why not? If India wants to be Jagat Guru, we have to use we can say the spiritual activity to develop the consciousness, so that the consciousness is more holistic. Nowadays, we talk of interdisciplinary knowledge. And when we say, if we integrate all the knowledge in our own consciousness, then we have to develop rishis actually. And that can be done by using or adopting our Indian traditional technology to develop the consciousness. So my submission is, we are all doing outward things, infrastructure, technology, everything, attention going outward, not going inward. If India has to become Atmanirbhar, we have to have Atmanbhav. And we have to provide these students. And it is the responsibility of all our, we can say, academicians and vice chancellors, that they bring this knowledge in, because the responsibility of a teacher is more. And we know that this is the solution. India can really lead the world by using, we can say, not only the modern technology, but our Vedic technologies. When we say just one more thing, when we say Vedic technology, actually modern scientists, they have partial approach. They just know the partial laws of nature and they apply it. But when we develop the consciousness, it develops all the laws of nature within, so that all our actions are good for the individual, for the society, and for the whole cosmos. So every individual has to be a rishi, and then we will be able to lead India. And we are very fortunate that this webinar is being organized in Shri Shri University, which also they give some kind of meditation. But I will suggest that UGC has started a program that for induction, they use the word Diksha, but actually not Diksha. Diksha has to be given, a mantra has to be given, a proper technique to develop the consciousness has to be given, then that will be proper Diksha. So just saying our things, not really using the technology will not help. So my submission to all our, we can say, enlightened vice chancellors are that just we should bring this knowledge in and we should develop the learner. Thank you very much, Professor Sharma, and to all our.
Your point is very well taken, with reverence and with respect. And that is why in our traditional education system, before the teacher start teaching on the blackboard, he would ask everybody to do a meditation for a minute or half. And that was the way to cause what we call self-regulation of mind, so that you could be focused and your consciousness could enable you to go deep into the learning from a dialogue between the teacher and student. And I'm sure before we go further, actually, we will answer this question toward the end, and my learned panelist can also add. But may I pick up another question from Dr. Satyanarayan ji? I can see the hands raised. Dr. Satyanarayan ji.
I will make an intervention, sir, after Dr. Satyanarayan.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Pankaja and Professor Sharma. Well, I think it's been wonderful presentation by all the panelists, and as always, Professor Sharma wonderfully moderating it and further fine-tuning our knowledge of the overview that is to be delivered. So my question is, we have been talking about digitization and adapting and new learning, but I have a simple submission. With or without any syllabus, even with a single line syllabus, a professor in MIT, Stanford, Cambridge, or even our own IIT professors can deliver a cutting edge course without any need in process and system. And the outcome is more based on, as Professor Sharma already mentioned, it is more than to know, it is to do. And this know and do to be assessed effectively. And there is an integrative approach to assessment. And that is where I think somewhere, as Dr. Saxena mentioned in the morning, how can we even go away from examination? Because if this assessment is done with honest ethics and integrity, and if we can fix a framework for that clearly as to what to be assessed and how to be assessed, in terms of the skills that the outcomes are expected, whether you go by Bloom's taxonomy, whether you go by 21st century skills, or all the key parameters that are enunciated in the national education policy and also the science and technology innovation policy. I'm sure most of the learned men. So in this teaching learning process, I would appreciate some comments on all the three experts on how much and how do we bring on this assessment process so that irrespective of even the curriculum or even a one-line curriculum can bring out all the facets of a student and make them enjoy the subject, because only then they will be truly having the knowledge or learning happening. Thank you.
Dr. Satyanarayan, learning and innovation go together. I scored the highest and got the gold medal, but I am also known for innovation and creativity, not only in teaching, but engaging my students and faculty in learning to do.
You had many outcomes.
Create miracles.
Yes,
so I think good days are ahead in this respect, and I'm sure my teaching community as well as my honorable vice chancellors are abreast with the need how to now create this new and forward-looking teaching learning environment where we are able to inspire our students not only to learn, but also to learn by doing it, causing innovations in plenty, and giving rise to that India where the enterprising minds are rolled out from the portals and campuses of our university. Before I go further, I will wind up faster than required. So Dr. Pankaj Mittalji, your words of wisdom at this point. Everybody is praising AIU. I wish I could have been president at this time. So I've been president 2 years ago. So we have a highly vibrant and energetic, enthusiastic, and committed Secretary General in Dr. Pankaj Mittal. We are so proud of you, Dr. Pankaj. Please.
Thank you, sir. It was you who selected me. So credit goes to you. Thank you. So first of all, I would like to thank you for, and rather compliment you for a very, very exciting session. The points brought in by the chair as well as the members, panel members, are really good. And we are right now drawing the implementation strategy for NEP. And we want to present it to the government, and all these 5 zonal conferences will give a good input to the document which we will be presenting to the government at the end of the 5 conferences and the national conference. But coming to this topic, sir, what I feel is that what is important is what we teach, how we assess the children, and how we make them employable. So all these 4 questions are answered in the national education policy. And when they talk of what to teach, obviously the curriculum has to be a sort of contemporary, so that it is teaching them what is required, say 20 years hence or 30 years from today. Because when you ask people that what type of future jobs you are envisaging, or you see that what type of job scenario will be there, it is totally different than what we are teaching in our universities today. So what to teach is very, very important, and universities have to be very innovative on changing the curriculum, not only every 3 years, but every year, maybe every 6 months, because the technology is changing so fast. Then how to teach is very important. Everybody is talking about the creativity and critical thinking, but the way we teach is important. Like, are we adopting flipped classroom model, which is being adopted by most of the universities? So unless we adopt modern technologies and ways like flipped classroom model, in which the children study at home and in the class only the discussions take place, that type of a model will be important to induce creativity and critical thinking. Third, how to assess. There has been a long discussion since morning on how to assess the children, how to assess the students. And we generally rely on a 3-hour examination at the end of the semester, which is obviously not the right way of assessing the student. It has to be a continuous assessment throughout the semester, and there could be multiple ways. It could be projects, it could be case studies, it could be quizzes, it could be face-to-face interviews, it could be group discussion. There are multiple ways. So that is very important, that how we assess the children. And lastly, the how to make them employable. The policy talks about internship in each and every subject in each and every semester. So every university will need to have an internship bank, so that they can provide internship to the students, so that whatever they have learned in the class, they can apply it in the work scenario, in the workplace. So all these 4 things are very, very important, and the policy has advocated all 4 of them. But the onus lies on the universities to implement it in letter and spirit. And the Vishwaguru, which everybody is talking about, India really wants to become Vishwaguru, and India can become Vishwaguru only if we implement the recommendations of the letter policy in letter and spirit, because the policy is a list of intentions. This is what the government intends to do. But when you have to put it into practical use and the the practicality when it comes, then the onus lies on the universities, the vice chancellors, the faculty, that how the various recommendations of the policy are implemented.
Thank you so much indeed, Dr. Pankaj जी. आपके बोलने के बाद तो अब कोई सवाल बचा ही नहीं है. सच्चाई तो ये है कि आपने बड़े स्पष्ट शब्दों में ये बता दिया है that our national education policy is to be implemented in letter and spirit and also with head, heart and soul. Then India would of course be classified to embark upon making that level that we are the Vishwaguru. Our forefathers created such an India of our dream during their time. Their emphasis was not only on competence and caliber of the students, but also on their character, on their integrity, on their professional morals, and on their work ethics. And they were very particular about it. And that is why even till date, when as a vice chancellor, we sign the degree, we sign not only the knowledge base which the candidate possesses, but also certify his character, without, of course, assessing it as much as our learned rishis were doing, Kulpatis were doing in the Gurukuls at that time. I have several references with me where a person who has scored highest marks in all subjects but denied the degree at the time of convocation, he was told that you are yet not fit enough to go back to the society with our certification, because on the dimensions of integrity and character, you are running very much short despite knowing everything on earth. Having said this, let me also say that this particular technical session has received the matured wisdom from my highly illustrious and learned panelist, no one less than Dr. S.C. Sharma. The director NEC himself was here to inspire us to think that we have to look at not only Naina, Sravana, but also our Manana, and therefore our mind, eyes, and ears have to be totally focused on causing that deep learning which we need to create in our classrooms as well as outside the classroom. Professor Upendra Dhar has rightly emphasized on integrating technology in learning. But he has also said that by utilizing the power of technology, we would be able to take higher education to the masses. And as per the desire and designs of the new education policy, to achieve gross enrollment ratio of 50 in 2035, believe it or not, Dr. Pankaj and my fellow Vice Chancellor, we can achieve this target by 2025-26, provided we take this task seriously of integrating technology in education. A good teacher can reach out to millions of students rather than putting a mediocre on a stage and wasting 1 hour time actually in the classroom. That is the power of technology. And that is why the great institutions of the world, including the IITs and ISCs and NITs, and very many private universities, including mine, Amity University, Gurugram, and Amity University system as a whole, are pondering today that we must now integrate technology in teaching very seriously to take high quality teachers to millions of our students within the country, creating network of the universities to cause that deep learning, not only here in my classroom, but also in the classroom which are seamlessly connected. Having said this, I think the importance of technology has been very well sketched out. Importance of creating those skills in our teaching community so that they are in a position to cause deep learning in the students has also been very rightly underlined by my panel. But what has not been underlined, let me submit with all humility, that we are in an age where autonomy of learning, autonomy of our students to learn what they want is very, very important. And our national education policy has focused on this aspect, that our teaching learning environment must take note that we are in the age of autonomous learning today. And therefore, our entire teaching learning environment and our strategies must be geared to cause deep learning by our students, both in the classroom and outside, at the same time acknowledge that they are autonomous learners. How do I enable them to be autonomous learners in the right earnest? Lastly, but not the leastly, we are in an age which is driven by technology. Connectivity is very, very important. Information is in fact available in abundance, as Dr. Najma ji has said, but information can be used and misused. When my grandson said that information is what already exists, he also meant to say that it can be crafted by somebody and misused. And therefore, it is important for us to ensure that the crafting of information for causing its misuse to misguide the society is not done at any level in our teaching learning environment within or outside the campuses. And it is this responsibility is also a very important responsibility of our university to create autonomous learners who will submit to the cause of character, integrity, professional morals, highest submission to the work ethics, but at the same time, what the new education policy rightly underlines, and I read out in my opening remarks, is spirit of serving our own nation, our own community, because ultimately what matters, what have you done to your own country rather than anything else. So if in new India of our dream is to be created and we all are conscious about it, and we are committed about it, then I think teaching learning environment in the universities and institutions of higher learning, in my opinion, would play a very important role in the years to come. With these closing remarks, let me say very clearly that learning to know, learning to do is very fine, but learning to live together in peace and harmony and discovering the very basis of oneness of diversity, respecting diversity and discovering oneness of diversity is also equally important. And we are at the highest opportune time in our nation to use our new education policy to create that teaching learning environment that will ensure that learning to know and learning to do also lead to a blissful life like the one being presented before us in the Sri Sri University, where this Vice Chancellor's Conference is going on. I pay my highest reverence to the Guruji and also to the illustrious Vice Chancellor, Dr. A.K. Singh Ji, for giving this opportunity for AIU to hold the Central Zone Vice Chancellor's Conference at such a divine university. Thank you so much, my fellow esteemed Vice Chancellors, President of AIU, Honorable President and Secretary General of AIU, for giving me this privilege to chair a session so important, participated by such an illustrious panel. Thank you, Dr. S.C. Sharma ji. Thank you, Professor Upendra Dhar ji. And thank you, Professor Najma ji, for being with me in this very, very important technical session of our Vice Chancellor's Conference. Thank you so much and namaskar.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. As we come to an end of the first technical session, I would like to thank the President of AIU, Professor Tej Pratap ji, Secretary General of AIU, Dr. Pankaj Mittal ji, President of Sri Sri University, Mrs. Raita Kulkarni ji, Vice Chancellor of Sri Sri University, Professor Ajay Kumar Singh ji, all the Honorable Vice Chancellors and other dignitaries and guests who are present today and participating in this event. On behalf of AIU and Sri Sri University, I extend my heartfelt thanks to the chairman of this session, Professor B.B. Sharma ji, and esteemed speakers, Professor S.C. Sharma ji, Professor Najma Akhtar ji, Professor Upendra Dhar ji, for such an engaging, thought-provoking, and insightful session. As a token of gratitude and appreciation, we'd like to offer planters on your name, sir, which would be planted at Sri Sri University. Thank you once again. It's time to move on now for the next session. May I now request my colleague, Ms. Mani Goswami, to initiate the second session. Thank you.
एक छोटी सी बात जरूर कह दूं कि वर्चुअल मोड में जितना आनंद आ रहा है उतना ही हम मिस कर रहे हैं physical presence in a university where we all would have been receiving divine bliss of the environment which you have in your university. So question is how the virtual environment of today and tomorrow would be able to create that vital eternal connect and glow of divinity on the faces of everyone participating in virtual environment. Thank you so much indeed for giving us this opportunity. So
Invite, come and visit Sri Sri University. Thank you.